On this episode of Game & Watch It, Rusty's not here, so we get to talk about other things outside of Nintendo. Yay!
Will we, though?
Fair point. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Game & Watch It. I am your temporary host, Polly, and I'm joined here by...
Arzee, hello.
Hello. We have a special guest coming on the latter half of the episode where we're going to be discussing free DLC and where it stands in the industry and where we think it may go. But first, Arzee, what are you playing?
A lot of Pokemon Go, thanks to Rusty dragging me back into that game. I only expect my obsession will probably last another couple weeks because I already sense myself getting fed up with that game again.
I'm not quite there yet. It's been intense. Every chance that I get, I am playing that game. I've been going for walks. It just
requires so much time.
And effort.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I mean, not everybody is into it for the long haul. And I get that, but the addiction is strong in me. My God, I have been going heavy. The amount of experience I've gotten over the past little while, the amount of Pokemon I've gotten, it's been insane.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the newer gym system, whereas before I might be lucky if I get like 5 coins. Now, if I'm aggressive enough, I'm reliably able to get like my 50 coins a day and buy I gotta start buying cosmetic shit just because I can.
Whatever. I mean, go for it.
Just why not? But like, it's right now. Will I reach the point where the addiction is being offset by annoyance? The addiction is at a plateau where it's just at this steady, very high level, but the annoyance is steadily rising as time goes on.
So essentially, this is a step above Pokemon Quest.
Yes, Pokemon Quest is dead to me.
And as it should be for everybody else.
Yeah, really though, at least there's the offside benefit that gets me outside.
Yeah.
But mostly it gets me to walk like half a kilometer, not even, to my nearest park, and then sit there for 20 minutes as I'm trying to grind down all the blissies that all the 40th level spoofers in my neighborhood have planted.
How do you get so into a game that you need to start cheating like that? It makes absolutely no sense to me.
Who knows? Maybe these people were just lurking in the bushes. I just know I'd be sitting there. It's like a fairly empty field. Like there's a couple trees around, so maybe people are like lurking in the bushes and dropping berries on these things to stop the gyms from getting taken. But
no, I got you. It's, you know what? The whole gym battling aspect is kind of it's kind of been on the outside for myself.
Yeah,
I've never been the biggest fan of it. I always felt the battle system was almost too simplistic and very boring.
Mash. I'm very good at mashing my finger, and if you could see right now that I'm basically like shaking it as if I'm having like a stroke or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pokemon Go is Pokemon Go. As far as I've heard, actually, talking about that, we're going to be getting 4th generation soon.
There's a lot of rumors flying around. Do they actually data mine it, or is it just like an assumption?
It's an educated guess, more of a very sneaky announcement. They released a picture, and in the picture, Turtwig was there.
Oh, okay.
So we know it's coming. We just don't know how
it's only a matter of time. We've already done 3 generations. Have we seen all the Alolans now that we have, like Alolan Raichu and Alolan Marowak showing up in raids? Is there any that are missing now?
As far as I know, I think we got all of them.
Okay.
All the variants, at least. Raichu's coming up pretty soon, so that should be...
Well, I've already seen Raichu in gyms. Like, Raichu's out.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Raichu's been out for like a week, I think.
Damn. Okay. Well, I completely missed that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You playing anything else?
A little bit of I Am Setsuna when I've had the time. Like, we've been spending so much time doing the RPGs, which maybe we should talk a little bit more. Not Nintendo. Not video game even. I'm playing, I Am Setsuna. It's all right. So, like, I don't quite understand a lot of the extra mechanics. And it's more to the point, just like I'm wondering, are these really important? Like the fluxes, like adding fluxes to your things. I'm just like, okay, like I don't even know what this does. Do you want to turn it on? Sure.
Whatever. Is it going to give me a competitive advantage? Then absolutely, I'd love to.
And the answer is, I think so. I don't really know what, but it seems to give the impression that it's a good thing, so I will turn it on.
Yeah. As far as I remember about the fluxes, actually, you know what? I can't remember at all. So there we go. That's that.
Well, yeah, mostly the game's just kind of like, it's been forgettable thus far. I think that's
it's been the problem with every game coming out of that studio that it has so much potential coming out of the gate, and then it's all but squandered.
I think I just gotta like bear down and plow through that game, and
yeah,
I may miss some of the recipes, but honestly, like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I got you, and you're a better man than me, because I stopped that game right at the point where you first get to the area that you're originally looking to get to.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but yeah. And there's this beautiful scene, just this amazing piece of scenery. The way they moved the camera into that area was glorious, and that's what I mean by like completely lost potential. This game had so much, and then at its core, it was boring. You know,
yeah,
it's okay. It is what it is. But is that all you've been playing?
Yeah, really. Well, I mean, we just played for the first time Delta Green yesterday, the pen and paper RPG. So for those of you who don't know, Delta Green is a Lovecraftian horror in the spirit of Call of Cthulhu or something like that, but set from more of a position of being government agents. So it's kind of like playing X-Files, the closest thing to it, other than maybe like if you play like Monster of the Week or some of those other games. But a lot of fun. We played the beginner scenario yesterday, and things got hairy as we expected them to.
Yeah, especially for me, because I know our listeners probably don't know this, but I know you do. My dice luck is notoriously bad.
Yeah, I definitely bore the brunt of some of the attacks, though escaped by the skin of my teeth and the bear mace in my pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And what I love about this game, I mean, the only other tabletop game I've played is D&D.
5th Ed, for the record.
Oh, yeah, 5e, for sure. And this is so different. I mean, it's so much more real. The aspect of the sanity coming into play with literally almost anything that could happen, it really makes everything feel real. It could come down to even just a death happening in front of you, and you have to make a sanity roll for that. So they really, really thought through all these aspects to make this game not only feel real, but feel fun and feel challenging.
Yes, and our DM is creepily watching us from the
stairwell.
Our handlers. Oh, we've just been corrected. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love the simplicity of the rules. Like, it makes for a much faster game. Like, it's very light on the crunch, at least in respective to even 5th edition.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas it's more in that rune question. Like, all characters are more or less the same, but may have different skill sets. So it's not like you ever have to know, like individual rules or open up a spell book or any of that kind of stuff. It's the percentage for pass or fail is on your character sheet.
Oh, yeah. And actually, we have our friend Dots, our handler, who just sat in. Would you? We got to do an impromptu mic check here. Would you mind saying hello?
Hello. Hi.
Oh, perfect. We're right on the money. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, guys, welcome back, Dots. This is what, your second time on the podcast now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So you decided to come out of the bed and join us?
Yeah. I'm sorry for my voice. We had a bit of a party last night, karaoke, so got a bit of a 1-900 voice today.
It's okay. This is my life too. I get it. It was for the record, my birthday party, kind of impromptu last night, and I ended up getting a bunch of sake bombs served to me in a huge. Well, I should say a very tiny barrel thing.
I guess it's less of a large cup than a small barrel.
Exactly. It was ridiculous. So either way, we were drinking and singing all night. Our voices are absolutely mad.
Yeah, we're all hungover, and just to let you know, we are half-assing this, and we will do nothing to prevent that.
Yeah. So either way, Delta Green was incredible. I mean, Dots, do you want to give us your experience with the first time as a GM?
Yes. So this is my first time as a GM. I've been dying to talk about this with people that are interested all week. My friends and coworkers at work, they try, but it's not there for them. But if you're into an RPG, I really, really recommend this game. I got into it when Arzee was expressing interest in trying a new gaming system. I think his main campaign for D&D is sort of in the end game right now. So I've spent a bit of time researching. I also surveyed his friends who are playing in his campaign and discovered Delta Green that way. Spent quite a bit of time reading about it. Got super interested in it because it is quite different than D&D. It's not a D20 system. It's a D100 system.
Yep.
And it could be based on today's world. It could be based on any time from the 1920s up to current present day, which makes it really fun. As Arzee had mentioned before, when your character is getting ready to do things, you perceive everything as a human. You don't always have to check or roll for every little thing. The game moves a lot faster.
Yeah.
As a first time as a game master, or in this game called a handler, I was really nervous going in because I think a lot of, everybody who plays RPGs are like a lot more experienced. You all have been playing for quite a long time.
But even if, I've been playing for years, and if this would have been theoretically my first time GMing as well,
right,
I would have been nervous as hell.
Yeah.
Like butterflies and everything.
Yeah. So I spent like a lot of time this week between work just reading the quick start guide, trying to commit as many of the rules to memory.
Yep.
The really great thing is, and this is something that Arzee had mentioned, who has a lot of game master experience, is just, the great thing is nobody at the table really knows what's what's part of the story, what's not, and ultimately the handler has the final word. And but everybody was really helpful too in instances where we weren't sure of the rules. Everybody kind of pitched in together, and, and we took a few minutes to look things up. But what I love about the game is as you mentioned, like all the sanity checks you have to do, they try to make it as realistic as possible. So
awesome.
If you're facing an instance where you're about to inflict violence on an innocent person, realistically, in your day-to-day life, if you're a good person and you're of integrity and you accidentally shoot somebody, that's going to mess you up mentally.
Yep.
You could develop disorders. You could develop, a lot of different things. You can go temporarily insane from things like this, where you just go into shock and you shut down. So the game's really realistic, which I like.
Yeah, I had an absolute blast playing it. I cannot wait to play it again. Yeah. I played a character that before I even started playing had gone through an incredibly traumatic supernatural instance.
Yeah.
And his sanity was already half fucked up to begin with.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I didn't help with my ridiculous rolling, so I ended up hitting his breaking point and giving him a disorder as well.
Yeah, have we decided what kind of disorder you're going to get?
We said paranoia.
Oh, yeah, that's
paranoia,
right. He's going to have acute paranoia.
So yeah, you and I have to talk a little bit more about how that's going to play out. So between scenarios, there are these things called home scenes, where you talk about basically what happens in the player's life at home. So if they go on a mission for 3 days, they're part of Delta Green, they're part of the secret organization, but they have a regular life. They have bonds that are family, children. They could have regular jobs. They could be computer scientists, like Arzee's character. They could be a physician. So what do you, if you're about to go on this mission, like, what do you tell your job? What happens if you get fired? Like, these are all parts of the game that we haven't explored this first session, but we will for sure.
I think one of the best things about both the bond and the sanity system is that it implicitly forces you to have connections to the world. So you don't get the D&D standard, I am an orphan, I'm connected to no one, I don't care about anything. Like you
I'm on a revenge mission.
Yeah, you can't murder hobo in this game without dire consequences.
Yeah.
And whereas I think it helps to keep everybody engaged and interconnected, because everybody is vulnerable.
Yep.
You're human. You are literally human.
But it's a different kind of game, where D&D is for high fantasy, empowerment, craziness, and those kind of shenanigans. This is a very slow pace. Like, you are fragile in this world, dealing with things that those little pistols in your hands are probably going to be widely insufficient for. And there's going to be a lot of very fun, morally great choices. Something else I love about the game is that if you're particularly skilled enough to recognize something, that can make you that much more vulnerable, because you know enough to know how fucked up something is, and you actually end up taking more damage.
Yep, I found myself in that situation.
Yep.
But yeah, it's, oh God. Either way, if you guys ever get a chance, you need to play Delta Green. It was incredible.
By Arc Dream Publishing.
Yes. I will mention they put so much love into the game, into the agent's handbook. If we continue doing this, I might get myself the handler's handbook. The quick start guide which is what we were using yesterday, along with the scenario, Last Things Last, and pre-made character sheets are all on the Delta Green website for free. You don't need to buy anything for it. If you just want to try it out and explore it, you can get it for free on their website. I highly recommend it. Yeah. It's an amazing game.
They also have a Kickstarter on right now for The Labyrinth, which is an expansion book they're having to actually... So the game is, even though you could play it from the 20s up until modern day, it's really designed for like 70s to 90s, like that kind of corridor. Gotcha. Whereas The Labyrinth, it's a lot of... what's the word? Groups and characters and threats, very specifically for the modern age. Gotcha. So there's a Kickstarter on for that right now.
Cockstarter.
Oh, that's
we started a new porn site. Fantastic.
Oh, great.
Cockstarter.com. Yeah. So, Dots, have you been playing anything recently?
Yep. The one game I've been playing is Octopus Traveler.
Nice.
It's excellent. I started playing it a little bit last week, but as you're aware, I spent most of my free time getting ready for Delta Green. Of
course.
I put in a couple more hours this morning.
Nice.
Hung over in bed while you two scamps have been sleeping. But yeah, no, it's so far it's an excellent game. I don't know how much I should talk about it because I don't want to spoil the game for anybody.
Well, okay, so you're enjoying it so far, right?
I'm enjoying it so far. There are some things that I'm noticing that I'm not a super big fan of, but I'm really in the early stages of the gameplay, so I don't know if it's gonna really affect things.
Is this like story elements, gameplay elements?
I love the gameplay. I love the art. I love like everything, the music, the voice acting. It's gameplay, story elements.
Yes.
Story elements is what I'm having a hard time with.
It seems to be the way that everybody is going with this game. I do want to give it a fair shot. I own it. I haven't started it yet. I've been planning on playing it for like a week now.
Yeah.
But there's something about the story I've heard that it feels almost too disconnected from all the characters you can potentially have. And it kind of ruins the immersion of the game as it moves forward.
Yeah. I really don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil it. I mean, if you maybe cover your ears.
No, okay. Like that's not.
Let's just, I don't want to spoil it.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
But I haven't played like an RPG, like an online RPG in a really long time, with the exception of Zelda. I used to play games like Baldur's Gate when I was younger. So that's kind of like my benchmark, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like, I'm still again in the early stages of the game. I'm really enjoying it so far. But there are some areas where I'm just kind of feeling a little bit suspect.
Like, is it like too linear? Is that what's coming across?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an RPG.
I mean, it's par for the course.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, like, in some RPGs, like, we look at Baldur's Gate, or we look at, like, Zelda Breath of the Wild is a perfect example of that.
Well, I wouldn't consider Zelda an RPG.
You wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't say so.
If anything, we could say Fallout, even the older Fallouts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they were the perfect example of an RPG being done, but being done well, but having an open world.
That's typically the divide between the American RPG and the Japanese RPG, where Japanese are, this is like, you could level up. There may be even an overworld. We may even let you choose between a couple different decisions, but it is a fairly straight, albeit disjointed line to get to the finish. While Americans have the character customization, like larger overworlds, like that's where you get your Bethesda territories, like your Skyrims and your
Why
Fallouts.
wouldn't you guys consider Zelda Breath of the Wild to be an RPG? Because I feel like it has all of the same elements.
It doesn't. Like, there's no... Breath of the Wild was the first time we actually even saw stats come into weapons.
Yeah.
And, like, beyond that, Link has no stats. It comes down to, like, maybe some of the armor that he's wearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? There's, like, the food to bring his health back up, which was the first as well. But whenever I see Zelda, it's always been a action-adventure game.
Yeah, this is the closest it's become to an RPG. Like, it's definitely adopted some RPG elements, but I would say it's still
not there.
An action game first.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actions, puzzles, all that kind of stuff.
Like, even
it's been very gameplay heavy first, and story always normally takes a bit of a backseat to that with Zelda games, or in general RPGs, especially from Japan. It's yeah, we'll add like a cool battle element into this. You know, gameplay will make it interesting, but like you're in this game for the story.
Cool.
You're in this game for the narrative.
Yeah. How else are you going to find out what happened in your amnesia?
Exactly.
Okay. No, that I think clarifies.
Also, big hair is very important.
Oh, of course. Yes. Big hair and bigger swords.
Yes. And bigger.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So Dots, is that all you've been playing recently?
Yeah, I also before starting Octopus Traveler, I officially finished Breath of the Wild.
Nice.
On Monday, after months of putting it off from studying because I was afraid that I would get addicted because I have that kind of personality. So yeah, I played the final battle. Got it done. There's still tons of stuff that I haven't explored in the world, and I know I'm going to the back-to-it.
Yeah, well, even all the DLC and stuff.
Yeah,
all the DLC, long after you stopped playing that game.
Yeah. So, but Arzee and I were on the couch and I was playing, and I think we were full on arguing, and I may have said some things to him. So once again, I'm sorry for the things I said while destroying Ganon.
That's okay. The things I was saying is because you weren't listening to the things I was saying.
I was listening. You weren't helpful. Let's not do this again.
All right. It's my turn. Finally, you fuckers.
Hey, you were at Delta Green too.
I was at Delta Green too. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I do have 2 games I want to talk about. First and foremost, I talked about Golf Story, I think maybe about a month or 2 ago. So finally, really, really got heavy into it. I am maybe about 6 to 8 hours into the game. Been playing it. It's good to play, in bite-sized chunks, just because of the way the story is set up. And again, it's golf at its core, but it's funny. Yeah. It has good dialogue. It's very tongue-in-cheek. They might go a little too heavy into the goofiness at times, but it's a nice, lighthearted story. The gameplay is near perfect, although it is very simplistic, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
They've added enough elements into the game for the type of equipment you can have and the type of boss battles you'll have. Everything, every little piece of this game was, in my opinion at least, really truly thought out. And that's what I think a lot of people really liked about this game and why it's been at such a high level for one of the more recent indie games.
Yeah.
So I say if you guys have been thinking about it, you're on the fence, definitely go for it. I am having an absolute blast. I don't want to ruin anything for you. Go in, experience it, go for whatever you got to go for.
Right on.
Yeah. And the second one is Toad Treasure Tracker. Because, God damn it, Rusty got me on this one, and I have some mixed opinions on it.
Does the song ever change? I feel like every single time you're playing it, it's that same theme over and over again.
As far as I can tell, it's been the same theme for most of it. That's kind of been one of my problems, is that, like, as much as I want to like this game, you can tell that it was just kind of slapped together.
Yeah.
A lot of the challenge comes from the extra challenges and levels, like finding gems and completing an unknown side mission or little, scenario within the levels that you won't know until you beat it the first time, and then it pops up, and if you did it, great, and if you didn't, you got to jump back into the level and do it again.
Well, that's frustrating.
It's just not interesting enough to go in and play every level twice.
Yeah.
And then there's a third time you got to go play the level if you really want to 100% it, to go in and find a pixel toad that's hidden somewhere in the level. So this is more just a hide and seek, search and destroy type thing.
And it's not there the first time you go?
No, you have to beat the level first to activate it to jump in for that second or third time. And that's where my problem lies with this game, is that it's already repetitive in and of itself.
It's forced repetition.
And now it's forced repetition on top of that. It's just, I want to like this game. It plays well, handles well. It's a wicked concept. I just feel like they didn't do it well enough. And I get that a lot of people probably love this game, and I'm sorry if I'm like shitting on your parade here, but I can't. I may have played an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm already thinking about stopping.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not the biggest fan, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you guys good? You got anything else you want to talk about?
I think I'm good. Can I be dismissed?
No. Actually, I'm kidding. We're gonna go for a quick break, and when we come back, we are gonna have another special guest on to talk about free DLC in the industry.
Yep.
We'll see you guys in a bit.
Bye.
And welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that song that we play on literally every episode.
Yes, I never get old. It never gets old for me.
Yeah, 100%. There is one thing I completely forgot to mention before we jump into the main topic, and I wanted to talk about this very briefly.
Oh, great.
I was at EB Games recently, and I mean, if you've been listening to the show, you know our general opinions on EB Games.
R.I.P. Poli.
Wow.
Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, so I was there at EB Games, just buying a couple games. I got Octopath and Toad Treasure Tracker. And there was 2 employees there. I was just talking with them, shooting the shit. They're really nice people. Ended up getting one of their like scratch cards when you buy a game or two.
Oh, yes.
They brought those back?
Oh, yeah. I ripped it open, and I ended up winning Destiny 2 for PS4. Just randomly. Jeez. So, yeah, we're going to be posting this audio version of the podcast to YouTube. I'll just probably have a still image, but I do want to show you the selfie I took with them. They were awesome. Completely not typical EB Games fucking neckbeard employees.
Wow.
They were awesome. Sat there and talked with them for a little bit. Really cool people. And yeah, so they're not all bad. That's moral of the story.
Thank you for that wonderful anecdote.
No problem.
Yes.
I do it again. And as you guys can see, we're joined by Mr. Fabulous Fab.
I'm here. Sorry.
Second time on
Sorry,
the podcast.
everybody.
Running late, but it's all good.
Yeah.
We're all here now.
Let's plow in.
All right.
That's what I always say.
So, with recent news in the industry, No Man's Sky, because I had no idea that was even still a thing, is releasing, as far as I can tell, a 2.0 or a 3.0 update.
Too little, too late, question mark?
Potentially, yes, but maybe not. And that's kind of the issue, right? There's been a lot of this happening where, you know, people are fixing their games years later. We have Final Fantasy XIV as an example. Right? We see free DLC happening all the time with games like The Witcher 3 and Kirby All-Star, whatever the hell that goddamn name is called.
Kirby, everybody at once, all the time.
Exactly. That one.
Kirby, multiple characters on screen. Why? Just deal with it.
Kirby, finally be a DD. Or a Waddle Dee.
And yeah, so it just kind of got me thinking about, like, is this the way the industry is going to go? Right? Is this going to be something that is going to be a staple, or is this going to be something that, you know, we're going to look back on in 5 years and say, oh, that was cool back then?
Well, I think you got to make a differentiation between fixing a game through a later patch and a revision versus planned DLC rollouts. Like, I think there's a big difference from what you're describing with No Man's Sky in, let's say, Splatoon 2, which has had the constant rollout of more gears and more levels and so on, which is more typical of even like subscription-based games, like something like a Fortnite that's constantly renovating the game, which is almost something in between those two things, where it's because it's a semi-subscription model, or like I guess the free-to-play is the way through it, like because there's the constant revenue stream, they can continually innovate the game and improve it. So it's almost like that happened to all of the above. Not only was it planned, but then there was the fixing it, because Fortnite kind of sucked initially, and now it's the biggest game in the world.
Well, I wouldn't even say it sucked. They had a really good engine. They had a really good. I mean, by all means, they had a good game. It's just it didn't really find the game. Kind of found itself of what it could be along the way of them testing out, like, try this stupid mode for a weekend, try this stupid mode for a weekend, and one of them works, and then the game kind of like. It's weird saying it, but like the game kind of tells the developers like what it wants to be, because the success kind of follows it.
Yeah, I meant sucked like in terms of reception.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't like going anywhere. Not that the game was inherently bad from the start, but it didn't really hit its stride until they hit the right number of revisions.
Well, this is kind of feeding into my point where, I mean, at the end of the day, they are two completely different applications of the same idea, but it is the same idea. It's updates to a game.
Yeah.
It's patches and different versions of the game being sent out to all of its players that is changing the game in and of itself, whether it's something huge like what No Man's Sky is doing and what Final Fantasy XIV did, or something along the lines of free DLC like The Witcher 3 or whatever it is, right? So in my opinion, I really do enjoy this. It makes it so that if something bad does come out, we're not just going to see that game and go, okay, well, that game was shit. Right?
Wow.
I mean, in a sense, right? Final Fantasy XIV still has players going now because of the 2.0, where that game would have been dead in the water if this was back in the old days.
Yeah.
So I personally really do think this is going to be something that sticks. This is going to be a piece of the industry that is, it's going to be a staple from this point forward until we, you know, get attacked by Skynet and we lose all fucking capabilities.
Well, who's saying it wouldn't? Like, this has been going on as long as there's been online consoles. Like there's always been patches even for PCs.
Yeah.
But like let's say, you know, as early like even let's talk about like the Xbox 360 like PS3 like era where you would have, you know, day one DLC and day one patches. Like I think there's multiple things to talk about. For one, as long as there's a financial incentive to update your game and you think you can get the player base to either continue or come back, people are going to continue making updates, and now all systems are logged on to the internet at pretty much all times, so the infrastructure is there for that. And then on the other side, there's the online-only games that have to constantly refresh and have new content to keep people interested. That's not going anywhere. So I'd like to know who it is that might think this is a fad, then otherwise it's just the way the games are done now.
Well, that's a fair point. I mean, especially for online games, it's going to be something that is always going to be pushed through. I think it's more just the fact of it being free, right? I mean, there's paid DLC, and we know that's going to stick, and that's just kind of the way it is. But with The Witcher 3, like that is a very heavily narrative-oriented game, very story-heavy. And still, from the get-go, they had a full, what was it, like full year plan of releasing free DLC for this game to give you more stories, more missions, maybe a new area of the game. I mean, I actually didn't play The Witcher 3, so don't go.
Well, there's only a few kind of developers left who actually even do that anymore. Like Monster Hunter World and The Witcher, like almost the only ones I can even think of that'll continue doing free DLC, because at that point they're like, as a company standpoint, they're buying goodwill from the players, right? Like you're buying goodwill towards the next thing you make or investing in the franchise in itself. But like even right now, if you look at Capcom and Monster Hunter World, they've had all free DLC. That's just the staple they've done every series they've done in Monster Hunter, and their initial sales were crazy. It was the best selling game Capcom ever made, and now Capcom's stock is plummeting because the sales of Monster Hunter World are not continuing, and they have no paid content to continue the revenue stream. So their most successful game they've ever made is now they're causing their stocks to drop afterwards because they didn't go towards a paid DLC or towards a kind of cosmetic like payment service to actually continue revenue.
Yeah, let's say that. Like I'll say like CD Projekt Red has also been known to kind of overextend itself in that regard. And I would say that is going to continue becoming rarer and rarer because it's not in the best interests of the company to do that. Like they're putting themselves largely at a competitive disadvantage in the market, whereas to Fab's point, they are buying goodwill, and we as consumers absolutely love getting all that content. But like I would say, stuff like Witcher 3 is undervalued, or undercosted in the market versus what they could be getting for it. And free market such as it is, it's only a matter of time before that deal just becomes too enticing.
Well, this is the thing. So I know there's a Game of the Year edition now for Witcher 3. Was there any paid DLC that came with that game, or that was out for that game? And that's the real piece, right? Because if there wasn't, that kind of there was one. There was one full expansion that they released after the fact. But I mean, there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. If you look at games like Fortnite, like Overwatch, in a sense, where they offer certain things that you can pay for microtransaction wise, but it's mostly aesthetic stuff, if not almost completely aesthetic stuff.
But even then, people are getting to now people are looking at the whole ethical side of it as like, well, is the people buying this able to afford to spend as much money on it? That's getting into like people starting to merge the full package game with the free to play kind of cosmetic payment kind of structure. So there are a lot of people are trying to cross both and kind of dipping into both, where they'll release a game for 40 or 60 or whatever, and then there will be the cosmetics or whatever on top of it that you can invest as much money as you want to basically invest into it with.
Well, it's crazy because I mean, Overwatch is almost the perfect example of that type of thing being done in a way that didn't piss people off. Because you paid what, $40 for that game? Out of the gate.
People still complained about it at the beginning. There's still a lot of people who said like $40 for a multiplayer only game is too much and this is awful and blah blah.
And now it's one of the most played and highly regarded always online games out right now, outside of maybe like World of Warcraft. And go figure, it's Blizzard that's doing it. Right? Well, like they just know what they're doing, and they know how to squeeze money out of people. But anyways, it's sorry.
They're the fullest evil geniuses we have. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, Blizzard got complaints for World of Warcraft when StarCraft 2 didn't come out 20 years ago, whatever the hell that was. And I think it's safe to say they knew better than the fan base.
Yeah, there's absolutely no question with that. But I mean, so you guys are actually bringing up some fair points. I mean, at the end of the day, for online games, it's seeming like this is going to be a staple, and it always will be. And there's going to be new stuff, especially for the free-to-play type stuff. But
well, it also allows companies to be more like, it allows developers to be more stable, because like if you look at regular businesses, they have revenue streams, and game development always had this weird kind of environment where you would basically front load all of your effort and work and then release, and then either crash and burn, your company goes under, or you'd have enough to hopefully try and do that again, at which any point you could crash and burn again.
And then in this modern era, the expectation that you're going to continue to run servers, you're going to continue to provide patches, you're going to continue to take your resources and put them against people that have already sunk their money into the game with no additional revenue coming in. And having those paid cosmetic stuff may continue to have a revenue stream, so you can justify doing more updates and continue to support the game. And I think that's going to become just more and more the model, because it just makes more sense in terms of, it just makes more business sense. Whereas like something like Fortnite is the perfect example of that coming together, where you have a game that costs nothing, so you've completely taken the old model and thrown it under the bus, and now it's this new model where you can pay if you want to, you don't have to, there's no pay to win, there's no loot boxes, like there's nothing that the usual complaints can apply to, and so they by and large get a free pass despite having a paid stuff, like despite having a continual payment system set up.
Well, okay, so this is going to lead into another point. Do you think that the online games like Fortnite, like Overwatch, do you think they're going to overtake the industry at this point? Or do you think we're going to start seeing less narrative-style games, less old-school style games, stuff that is, has a starting, has an end, and that's it? Do you think people are going to start going towards these games that will have continuous revenue streams coming towards them instead, and we're going to see the death of the video games that we grew up with?
I think what's happening is, I think all of that is shifting to the indie developers. I think AAA is starting to kind of flounder in terms of this release cycle and all the stuff they're trying to do to package these games, because they're seeing obviously way more success in these other business models of being have the resources, having the people to keep everything online, keep everything updated, keep everything, all this new content for these millions of players. And the indies are really kind of taking the old style of games of the package of 20 or whatever, and like trying to make like a concentrated, compact experience of a game you can play, you can do. You're not going to spend 2,000 hours on a Shovel Knight, on a Shadow Knight, on something, but you're going to play it for whatever it is. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be very memorable. And if the developer ever comes to something else, you'll probably look to buy that too. So I think there's been a big divide over what makes more sense for what size company now.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. I completely agree with that. I love the indie scene right now, and a lot of the major AAA companies out there are eating up these companies, or trying to get publishing rights so they can make a little bit of that money off of it too. There's a game that I bought recently that I haven't tried yet, but it looks amazing, called Forgotten End. And it's this beautifully hand-drawn 2D art, side-scrolling puzzle game that looks very much like the Studio Ghibli style. And I can only assume that as soon as somebody saw it at Square Enix, they bought it right away and said, okay, well, we're going to get the publishing rights. We'll get the game out to everybody that we need to get it out to. We'll take care of the localization, the translations, everything like that. You guys just make the game, and we'll take care of the rest. And it's kind of funny how that works out in a sense, because we're talking about how all these major companies are going to start pushing towards the online, and we've seen it a million times, but they're also trying to take another piece of the pie from the other side.
Well, yeah, they're going to move to whatever's the most profitable, and they're going to go to whatever the best opportunity is. And I agree that probably that single player old school game market is shrinking, but it's basically being handed over to the indie devs, because the indie devs are willing to put in the time and effort into that
and take the risk, basically.
Yes. Whereas the majors are going to be crushed under their own weight if they don't have that continued revenue stream coming in. Yeah. Like, let's say EA survived on the fact that people needed to buy those sports games every single year. Like, you can't exist as a company of that magnitude unless you have a steady revenue stream coming in. It's just too damn risky. Whereas they'll still want a little piece of that market share. Just like, let's talk about like beer right now. Craft beer is ascendant right now in a huge way. Your big guys are watching the market share go away. And this is where something like Coors Banquet come in, where they'll create this little thing.
Or Miller High Life comes back.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying to market to the beer hipster crowd and have that kind of thing. So that's why you'll see games like that, or what would you call it, Reverse N? Or
Forgotten N.
Forgotten N.
Yeah.
Those will continue to come out. And there's still developers that are creating the old school kinds of games, but you'll probably, as time goes, that'll shrink, and I think we'll reach a plateauing area. But like, if you're a company and you see the idea of not only do I just have to worry about, is this game going to sink or swim in the original days? If IGN pans it, that's a death knell, and now everybody's getting fired. Or it's IGN pans it, and 6 months later you come out with a different version, and then it almost has to be re-reviewed at that point in time.
Oh, and they always are.
In the past, where games were almost effectively static, like a patch was a huge friggin' deal in the PC era, or an expansion pack coming out. It was just a whole new
CD or something. Yeah, it was an expansion.
Yeah, because we didn't have that ability. But now with like day one patches, and like games are more like a continuous stream rather than just a single firm product that's like they're so mutable now. And why wouldn't you do that if you have the finances to do it? Whereas the indies typically wouldn't. They won't. If it's a team of like 3 guys, I don't think you're gonna have the time to just like consistently update and change the game constantly. Or it depends on the nature of the game, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
It depends on almost all the situations of the DLC. I feel like depends on when someone's like ready to pull the plug, or like as long as someone still has the conviction to believe like, okay, this at its core is good. We just have to find the right way to get it out there, the right way to get it in people's hands, or the right modes to put in there that it catches on.
If people want something, somebody is going to make that thing that people want.
Oh, there's no question. And if the market exists, right?
Yeah, if the AAAs don't find it, then it'll pop up on Kickstarter and make a killing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, go figure. And that's a completely different issue altogether. But I see where you guys are coming from. And it's just, I still wonder if this is still going to be something that sticks around for anything that's outside of the online. You know what I mean? Just as more, I guess, of a conclusion more than anything else. And I do want to apologize in advance to our listeners. This is going to be a bit of a shorter episode. We're on a bit of a time constraint over here. But just in my own, little concluding notes, I'm still on the fence about it. Yeah. I know for sure games like Overwatch and Fortnite and stuff like that, for sure. There's no question. As long as those games exist, there's going to be free DLC coming towards them for sure. Whether or not we're going to see it happening for games like Kirby again, which I know actually pissed off a lot of fans and pissed me off as well, right? In the way that they did it, because the game was very short, and then they started releasing little add-ons here and there that just made me not care anyways, because I'd already beaten the game in and of itself. To go back and play it as a different playable character, I stopped caring. But if that had been there on day one, that would have been, something great for me, and I would have played it probably exponentially longer. But on the flip side, you look at games like, again, The Witcher 3, which I haven't played, but as far as I've heard from a lot of people I know that have, it was one of the best parts about it, was getting all that free DLC, getting back to it, going into that over-expanding world. It was incredible as far as I've heard. So who knows what's going to happen. I'm going to lean on the side of this becoming a staple.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to remain slightly agnostic to it.
Yeah.
Well, one of the bigger ones I can think of coming up is the Destiny 2 expansion that's coming out.
Okay.
They're basically going like full like StarCraft Brood War, like full expansion, like new game on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like they've been basically using this past whole year or whatever years of the release as like a feedback group, kind of listen to all the players and then just overhaul everything, which is happening a lot. It happens with same thing happened with Final Fantasy and everything. So
I
mean, the success of that's probably gonna like at least hint towards what people are gonna want to do in the future. Because I mean, Bungie's not a small fish anymore now with all the Destiny stuff. Despite all, they're probably up there with partner with Blizzard and everything, and Activision now and everything. So
it's just crazy. I mean, for the sake of Destiny 2. I can't believe they somehow fucked up twice and had to do this exact thing that we're talking about twice. it's mind-boggling. And it makes it seem that, like, in this era of this, free DLC, you can just do shit haphazardly and do whatever the fuck you want.
Yes, and that's the major counter argument why a lot of people get offended when they see like a day one patch or something like that.
Yeah.
That it unfortunately also facilitates when something's being rushed through the market. It makes that more possible.
Yeah.
And it makes developers less likely to delay a game by 6 months or a year, to make it a better product when they know they could just push it out.
Yeah.
Get the sales when they needed the sales to be because they have their sales plan and they can't lose market share.
Yeah.
And all the people in the boardrooms are going to get pissed off if anything gets delayed.
Throw some layoffs out there to make the bottom line a little bit bumped up towards where it needs to be.
We read about that all the time.
And then you hand off DLC to another company, to a contract company.
It's crazy. So, sorry again to cut things off short here, but do you guys have any final thoughts?
I say it's been here as long as it's been able to. I don't see it going anywhere, but you'll see companies doing what's right for them and what's right for, or what they think is right for their fan base. And I think I don't think it's going to become universal. I don't think it's going to be going away entirely either. Like, it's more of just, it is a way of doing business that some will take part in, and there are going to be some wins, there's going to be some losses.
Totally fair. And Feb?
I just say it's the most important thing now is for the consumers and the gamers themselves to basically support the companies that you want to see make more, and support the companies that you believe will like come out with the thing you want. Even if because now even if a company stumbles one time, you can't really axe them out or kind of cut the ties with them. I mean, if they've been making games that you like for a while and something comes out and you're disappointed in it, and maybe a DLC comes out, like, I don't know. You have to basically pick where your money goes as less of a binary, like 1 or 0, and more of a do I believe they're going to continue to produce things that are going to be better for all of us.
Yeah.
That sort of deal.
Yeah,
totally fair.
Yeah, buy a product. Don't buy feelings. Like, don't buy don't buy hype.
Yeah.
Don't buy expectations, and don't not buy just upset. Like, buy what's good and what you enjoy, and the market will react.
Awesome. And in typical Game & Watch It fashion, we talked for, about an hour and got absolutely nowhere.
Nothing done. Nothing done at all.
I don't know. I think if we kept going another hour, we might fix the entire industry. I'm pretty sure.
At that point, agents would descend on us through the rest of the windows. So.
Yeah, I remained agnostic. Arzee remained agnostic.
Yes.
And Fab is peddling for the gaming industry.
I'm peddling. Oh, yeah. Big pedal.
And EA is watching us from the underworld.
And on that note, guys, thank you again for listening to this episode of Game & Watch It. You can find us on YouTube, of course, which is going to be where we're going to be releasing all of our video content. And if you want to listen to us on the go, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podbay.
Ooh.
Mind you, Podbay may be off the list.
Ooh.
I might be blacklisting them because they already blacklisted us.
Ouch.
I looked a couple of days ago and we weren't there, but it might pop up again. I've never even heard of that place, honestly, until we started recording.
I know, it is what it is. Actually, I listened to a few podcasts on that like way back in the day. But anyways, totally beyond the point.
Your right-wing gaming views are disgusting. Frankly, they don't have that filth on their channel.
That must be right.
And on that note, guys, thank you again for listening. And Arzee?
Here's back on our next free DLC, which is our next episode. And we'll just continue running that model until it doesn't work for us anymore. And I think I'll call that scene.